Hey gang, I got an offer for you today from LinkedIn. As business to business marketers, your needs are unique. B2B buying cycles are long and your customers face incredibly complex decisions. Isn't it time you had a marketing platform built specifically for you? LinkedIn ads empower marketers with solutions for you and your customers. LinkedIn ads allow you to build the right relationships, drive results, and reach your customers in a respectful environment. On LinkedIn, you have direct access to build relationships with decision makers. Of the 875 million users on the network, 180 million are senior level executives. 10 million are C-level executives. You will also be able to drive results with targeting and measuring with their tools built specifically for B2B. And best of all, they work. Audiences exposed to brand messages on LinkedIn are 6 times more likely to convert. LinkedIn ads also rank #1 for security, community, and ad experience as part of the Business Insider's Digital Trust Study. Make B2B marketing everything it can be and get a $100 credit. It's a $100 credit on your next campaign. Go to linkedin.com/MPN to claim your credit. It's linkedin.com/MPN. Terms and conditions apply. Entrepreneurs Enigma is a podcast for the ups and downs of entrepreneurship. It's about the wins and the fails that we all face being entrepreneurs, and how we learn from adversity. Every week I talk to a different entrepreneur with a story to tell. I'm Seth Goldstein. Come with me on the journey. This is Entrepreneurs Enigma. Let's get started. Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of the Entrepreneurs Enigma podcast. As you all know by this point, we're at, I don't know what episode we're at. We're beyond 100 episodes so far. So you know who I am. But you don't know who this guy is yet. And this guy is Sam Sawhook, the CEO of Nth Ventures. It's a venture studio, so it's not quite. I'm going to have Sam more explain, but I'm going to try here. I'm going to try and paraphrase what the hell this thing is.
Do you think?
It is kind of like a VC company, but it's not. It's kind of like an incubator, but it's not. It's kind of a hybrid, but it's not. Sam, enlighten us. What the hell is Nth Ventures? Because it's not. It's a little bit of everything, but not a little bit of everything. It's very ambiguous.
Yeah, well, I like to remind folks when we started out, we were definitely not trying to create a venture studio. And
Most
and
entrepreneurs don't start out in where they end up.
well, ours is even worse. None of us even knew what a venture studio was. Like we had never
I don't
even
think
heard
anyone
of that.
knows what a venture studio. I think you're the only ones I know
Yeah,
of. So I don't
yeah,
think anyone knows what. So what is a venture studio?
So a venture studio is basically an environment for folks to start a business, and we take them through pretty similar to some of the other ones out there. We have 6 months with our presidents, with the founders of these companies.
Wow.
And so they come in, and there's a few months ahead of that where the studio staff, my team of folks are just launching businesses for a living. And what they do is we'll find, areas that we're really interested in. And the hard part is kind of culling it down from, the hundreds of napkin drawings into something that actually has something that, that we could do. But the ideas come for us, and then we'll go out and find the very best president on the face of the planet to run it.
Wow.
And we're pretty good at doing the recruiting these days, thanks to a lot to Nathan.
So you did the ideation even.
Yeah, exactly. And most of the time, once we get a president in there and they spend a few months with it and they're building out the business, every single time it goes on a significant pivot where it's
It always does.
almost unrecognizable. They go through and build a business, and that's essentially what a venture studio is. But we're pretty different than a lot of venture studios.
Okay.
And we just found that the form helped us do what we ultimately wanted to do. When we got together, we weren't talking about venture studios. We were talking about modern compensation and how to kind of dent the universe. Yeah. And
the whole universe.
Exactly. How to dent, the way that people work in the modern world and the wage and salary system. If you allow me to put on the crazy founder hat and go super crazy here for a second,
go for it.
Our species,
go for it. Yeah.
Our species is like 2 million years old.
Anatomical
humans,
really deep there.
Going really deep. Anatomical, maybe 200,000, just depends on where you look. But the Industrial Revolution wasn't until the late 1700s, early 1800s coming out of the UK. So all basically entirely before that, people operated in this kind of like communal environments, like do well together as a team, the team does well. That's just, it's very natural.
Makes logical sense, you would think.
And now with the creation of the industrial base, you are a machine
The
in a
cog.
larger machine,
Yeah.
right? And so it's appropriate to pay you on an hourly basis, and that is the correct way to do it. And thank God for the Industrial Revolution, because I want medicine and, like all these nice things. But
There's good things and there's bad things to it.
you take
Exactly.
the good with the bad.
Exploitation and all that happened too. But yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Hey, I get electricity, but I have to watch Facebook every once in a while.
The ads.
Right. It's such this horrible, terrible thing. But what's beautiful about the modern day is that we can take kind of the tools that used to only be available for huge corporates. The
Mhm.
computer I'm using used to, take up rooms and rooms, and,
Yeah.
the servers and the power that you get through that is now available to, regular average, people.
And goes in your
And
backpack.
exactly, the amount of capital it takes to start a business these days is nothing like what it used to be. And so
Yeah.
we're finding a lot of startups these days don't need to burn millions and millions of dollars to get going. They need a
Mhm.
laptop and they need some connections and they need people to help them bring it to life. It's an interesting time to be a venture studio for sure. But it's also, I think, in the larger scheme of things, what we're really interested in doing is creating the kind of compensation structures that allow people to win together, lose together, all throughout the kind of maturity curve of these businesses. So the way that we do profit sharing
Yeah.
and the way that we issue equity is designed to scale with these businesses over time. So
Mhm.
collectively, we're at maybe 50 plus people. Everybody here is compensated on a profit sharing basis and through equity, and not a single person is on salary. And it creates this amazing place to work
Yeah,
because
everyone has
everybody's
skin
got
in
your
the game.
back.
Yeah,
Yeah,
everyone has skin in the
everybody.
game. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. And here's the it's not only like a positive thing that
Mhm.
we're all kind of like chasing going forward, but all the bullshit drops. It's like,
Yeah.
hey, I need this report about this, and
Oh
all
yeah, I
the
kind of
political
office space.
position.
Office space pops in my
Yeah,
head right now. Are you able to work on Saturday for the CGM report?
right.
Like that. Yeah,
Exactly. It just everything
such a
that
great movie.
doesn't matter when I'm not at the end of the day saying, oh, you get a raise, you get a bonus. It's just like, hey man, how's the business doing? This is your
Yeah,
piece of the pie in the
yeah,
story. It's this beautiful thing where you're able to focus. What Nathan, who you talked to,
I
called the
love
eye of the
Nathan.
tiger.
Oh, he's
Yeah.
awesome.
So the eye of the tiger is very real in each one of these businesses because they're able to focus on just the things that move the business forward, and it's very clear.
Yeah.
This is our piece of it. Let's make it happen.
We're gonna take a quick break, hear from our sponsors, and get right back to the show.
Hey, it's Jason with the Marketing Podcast Network. You have less than 1 month left to get special early bird pricing for the Creator Economy Expo 2023. This event, folks, is for content creators and entrepreneurs interested in building and growing their content-first businesses. Do not miss this show. Join over 500 bloggers, podcasters, authors, newsletter writers, speakers, consultants, and freelancers at the learning and networking event for content creators. Plan to attend May 1st through the 3rd in Cleveland, Ohio. Register now to secure early bird pricing before it disappears March 31st. Early bird pricing ends March 31st. As a special offer, you can get $100 off just for listening to MPN shows like this one. Go to cex.events to register. Use the coupon code MPN100. The address, the URL, cex.events. That's the whole thing. Type that into your browser. cex.events. The code you use, MPN100. The Creator Economy Expo, Cleveland, May 1st through the 3rd. See you there.
So, for those who don't know and haven't looked you up yet, you graduated from University of Texas Austin in 2018. So you're an old soul in a young person's body, to say the least.
Appreciate
So,
it.
no, but the point is that like some entrepreneurs like Guy Kawasaki that we were talking about before on we hit record, who I had on the show. He's he's in his 60s, late or 70s even. He's not a young guy. He's been around the block a little bit. You're what, mid-20s, and you've been around the block as much as he has, probably. Maybe not
I
as
very much doubt
Apple.
that.
Maybe
Yeah.
not as much as Apple, but like per company base, like if you look at the numbers of companies that you're doing, isn't there 5 or 6 in the cohorts right now?
Yeah, for cohort one, we had three. They're doing one of them was kind of a relaunch
Yeah.
that we're doing now. We just had new presidents start this Monday. It was exciting.
Yeah.
And then for cohort two, we got another three companies that we're
So
launching
that's
through there.
6, yeah.
Yeah, so it's six. And
I can do
we've got
math. Look, mom.
hey, watch out. Yeah, and then we
Yeah.
had one just completely crash and burn doing like e-commerce
But
retail.
out of 6, you lose 1, that's a pretty good ratio.
Yeah, we're relaunching one, so you call it like a half a crash and burn, maybe. I don't know.
All right,
But
so out
yeah.
of 5, that's still a good ratio of things that are working.
Yeah.
And it's also, when you think about it, it's the lean startup. It's
Oh,
starting off
100%.
lean, and you're all remote, right? You're working out of your spare bedroom, right?
Yeah, fully remote. And that's the crazy thing about COVID.
Yeah.
I don't think this could have started. Silver lining to tear a million people dead is, Sam got to start his startup because we couldn't have possibly launched what we're doing here.
Oh yeah.
Because it just totally changed the way that people think about work, what they want out of it, both,
And they're trying to
both.
bring it back to the old way, and I don't think it's going to happen. So
Yeah, no, exactly. I think a lot of it is just kind of egotistical bosses that want people in person to stroke their ego. But
exactly, that's what I think a lot of it
you
is. Yeah.
know,
So
uh,
what's the best thing about being an entrepreneur?
I mean, honestly, I think for a great majority of folks, especially for folks that have it in their bones to be a successful entrepreneur,
Yeah.
it's not that much of a huge difference on a day-to-day basis between being an entrepreneur once you're a little bit further down the road and
Yeah.
being in a corporate environment, because
Mhm.
it's ultimately these are the resources I have in front of me. Sometimes you have a brand, sometimes it's just yourself. And I think ultimately it just boils down to working with people. And I've always found that if you can find a purpose that is deeply motivating, not only to you, but to other people, and
Yeah.
what you're doing genuinely is driving that, and you're willing to just go the distance and do whatever it takes, it's very hard to fail permanently.
Actually,
So,
failure is a good thing. I mean, like people are like, "Oh my god, I failed." Well, get up, dust yourself off, and get back to it. Try it again.
definitely the greatest teacher by far, no question.
Unless you fall off a cliff off your Segway and you're dead, well, that failure is kind of done, and you're not coming back from that. But most failure, and especially in business, all these 100+ episodes, everyone says they've failed plenty of times. Look, even you have failed in the business. You have had a few duds that haven't worked out. You get
Oh,
up, you
100%.
dust off, you relaunch it. You say that, well, that was dumb. We won't do that one again. Or we tried, or what did we learn from that one? And how can we take our lessons and our bruises and turn them into gems, and, go forward with it. I think it's great what you're doing.
I think there's something that's always stuck with me too on that. We're kind of in this hyper pressure environment where
Mm.
your wins and losses are obvious. Like
It's
there's
blatant,
no
yeah.
there's no corporate thing where you can kind of spin it as like, oh, our project, didn't do what we wanted, but it did X. It's like, no, how's the business? But when you're looking at um, failure that hurts, I think the thing to keep in mind is like it's extremely difficult and probably not even worthwhile to just not care or
Mhm.
pretend like it doesn't matter to you. But ultimately, your ability to bounce back and be resilient is so valuable that I can't even put into words. Like if you have the conception that, hey, this really sucks right now, that's no problem. Eventually, we're gonna figure out a way to make it happen. That mindset is basically what creates durability. You don't have to say, oh, like Teflon, no big deal. You're going to fail and it's going to hurt emotionally and
Yeah.
in the pocketbook and everything. Having the idea that, hey, look, eventually we're going to figure out a way to make it all come together makes it
Totally.
tolerable and makes it so that you're going to keep going.
All right, so what keeps you up at night?
I don't know, just missing something big, pissing off the wrong people.
That's a big one, yeah.
That definitely keeps me up. There's only one reputation that you've got. If you burn it,
Mhm.
it's game over. It's
Yeah,
just
and
it's
it's
just
really game over, yeah.
it's just game over. And sometimes you're banking on things that are outside of your direct control. And
Mhm.
so I think it was a Buffett quote. He's like, look, if you lose me money, I'll be understanding. If you lose a shred of reputation, I'll be brutal. And
Yeah, his reputation is everything, yeah.
yeah, it takes 20 years to build and a second to lose it. So that's what keeps me up at night is, making sure that even when we fail, we do so in a way that we're able to keep going. Cause it's really hard too. Cause it's like, in order to be successful, you almost have to create like a reality distortion field and like
Mm,
be like, we're going to win. Don't even think about it. We're winning no matter what,
Steve
and like,
Jobs-esque, yeah.
right, exactly. Like you have to create so much confidence. Like this is going to work no matter what. We're gonna
Yeah.
run through walls. But sometimes you hit a wall, it's like, yeah, we
You're like,
fucked up.
"Shit, that didn't work."
This one's bad. So it's like, how do you motivate, but still,
Mhm.
when shit hits the fan, you guys are gonna be okay. And you didn't lie to anybody. It's all part of
Yeah.
the
Don't
process. And
fake it till
so
you make it. Don't do the fake it till you
I
make it.
don't think
Yeah,
that's
no,
the
yeah.
right way to
That's
go
not
at
the way
all.
to go. It's gonna
No,
come back and bite you in the ass. Exactly. So what is
exactly.
the most important thing to carry with you all the time?
I think what we were talking about, just resilience is probably the most
Mhm.
important thing. And also just thinking about the purpose that we have here. I'll tell you a story. So
Yeah,
when
tell
we first got started, um, there were 3 co-founders a little over a
Oh, wow.
year ago, right? So like one of them was the smartest kid I knew. One of them was my former boss. And
Oh, geez.
we realized that we were going to have to hire a lot of people really quickly. And it was going to materially help us by doing that in a really good way. And we all realized that we're all probably going to be terrible at it. So our first hire was for a chief people officer. And so we went out, wrote this like really nice job description, and then I think like 300 applicants
Oh, geez.
on LinkedIn. And so it took us like 3 days to get through everybody and just schedule all the
Found a
interviews.
good one, though.
Yeah. And so not only a good one in Nathan, but we ultimately found 3 people that we really
wow.
like. So one of them was kind of like a more creative type. So we're like, hey, maybe you can, be a VP at our podcast. And one of them was Nathan, and one of them was an advisory board member that had the HR background. Now is HR, like a huge bank. We said, all right, well, we found all these great people. And I told the folks, I was like, what if we hire all of them? And so
like hire them and find spots for them. Exactly.
Yeah. And I told them, I was like, okay, I'll tell you what, if all of these guys accept their offers, I will get an adventure tattoo.
Oh, no. No.
And
then it happened, I'm sure.
They all accepted on the same day, the very next day. And
You're like,
damn it. Yes. So now I've got the one and only tattoo is adventure. But,
just tell me it's not in your butt.
Oh, yeah. No, it's property of adventure on my butt. No.
Across the whole butt.
No, on his shoulder here.
Or on your chest, like a sweatshirt. Yeah.
But I tell you that story because
Yeah.
it helps me remember why we're here and what we're doing is, not to try to, make money in the short term, but to build something that may change the way that people work.
I think it's brilliant. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's ultimately what we're here for. Nathan kept us up all Saturday trying to finally articulate our purpose and values and that whole thing. And I'm glad he did. And so, ours is to set talented people free through the power of ownership. And that's what keeps me going.
I love it, my friend. I love it. So where can people find you online, and where can people find Nth Ventures online? Like where's your watering hole?
Yeah, you can find it on LinkedIn. Put a lot of stuff out on LinkedIn or
NTH Ventures.
NTH Venture. And our website, nthventure.com.
Very cool. And then you're on LinkedIn as well. Look for the guy holding up a wine glass in a very blurry photo. We got to talk about that. We got to talk about that.
My wife took a picture of me while I was writing like the original email that we sent out to everybody.
Also, there's a story behind it. I love it.
Oh, everything's got a story.
I love it. I love it. So go check that out before he changes it.
Yeah. But yeah, one of my personal goals, I feel like, is to delete LinkedIn. So I'm trying to be successful enough to delete LinkedIn. That would be ideal.
I don't know if that's possible because I love LinkedIn. LinkedIn is actually, of the social networks, is probably of the centralized social networks, it's the one that works the best. Clearly,
it's so useful to be a creeper and just like see what everybody's all up to. Yeah.
Exactly. Other than that, I think Mastodon is really the decentralized nature of the web it's coming up next. But we'll see.
LinkedIn.
So on that note, thanks for being on, Sam, and we will see everyone next week.
Thank you, Seth.
That was a great show. Hey, if you're enjoying Entrepreneur's Enigma, please give us a review on the podcast directory of your choice. We're on all of them. And these reviews really help others find the show. Also, if you're getting value from the show and want to buy me a coffee, go to the show notes and click on the link to help me stay awake while I bring you more great episodes to your ears. That's in the show notes, and I look forward to the next episode. Take care, guys. Goldstein Media hopes to have enjoyed this episode. This podcast is one of the many great shows on the MPN Marketing Podcast Network.
You may know you're listening to this show along the Marketing Podcast Network, but did you know there are other great shows on MPN to help your business? Christy Smallwood hosts a great podcast called Small Business Success Talk. Christy, Tell us what these fine folks will get out of listening.
Well, you get the feeling of not being alone in building a small business. My guests have shared their success stories, their biggest challenges, their best practices, the passion for what they do, and what success really means for them. It's a mix of mindset, heart, and how-tos for the small business community to learn from each other.
Awesome. Where can people subscribe?
You can go to smallbusinesssuccesstalk.biz, or you can find the show at marketingpodcasts.net, or you can search for Small Business Success Talk wherever you get your podcasts.
You heard her. Go subscribe. This podcast is heard along the Marketing Podcast Network. For more great marketing podcasts, visit marketingpodcasts.net.